As a comedian, as an actor, as one of Hollywood's greatest talents, Robin Williams delivered a slew of films over the years, playing a diverse group of characters, ranging from a genie, a poetry professor, a bat, and even Peter Pan. Williams was an actor who could do it all, and did do it all. And I'm here today to look at what I consider to be his 13 best films. Now, he did make a lot of films over the years, so please don't get upset if you don't see one of your favorites on this list. This is all subjective. So without any further ado, these are my top 13 favorite Robin Williams movies. Number 13. Jumanji. This is a Robin Williams movie that hasn't really aged well, but I'd be lying if I said it didn't play a big part in my childhood. It was one of those films that I just watched constantly growing up, alongside Ninja Turtles, The Pagemaster, and Aladdin, which I will be getting to later for obvious reasons. The film revolves around a boy named Alan Parrish who is sucked into a board game for 26 years, and isn't released until Judy and Peter, played by Kirsten Dunst and Bradley Pierce, find the game and begin playing themselves. This releases Alan from the jungles of Jumanji, as well as several other jungle creatures and inhabitants that begin terrorizing their home and their town. Now, Alan must work with Judy, Peter, and Alan's old crush Sarah in order to beat the game and send all the jungle creatures back where they belong. While nothing truly special by today's standards, Jumanji still maintains a good nostalgic tone, sporting funny performances, a really interesting and out there premise, and effects that, while a bit dated, are a ton of fun to watch. Robin Williams as an adult Alan Parrish gets a lot of funny lines, but there's also a lot of emotion with his character in this movie.
Do you know what happened to this shoe factory?
Yeah, folded up. Like everything else in this town. It's pretty cold out there. How about some coffee?
Why would they close Parrish shoes?
When his kid ran away, Sam put everything he had into trying to find him. His time, his money, everything. After a while, he stopped coming to work. He just quit caring. I don't think anybody loved his boy more than Sam did.
Again, the movie is a bit dated and silly by today's standards, but it's still a lot of fun. And I would recommend it to anyone simply looking for that.
TriStar Pictures presents Robin Williams. Jumanji.
Number 12. Hook. One of Williams' stranger films, Hook revolves around a simple idea that strangely manages to work. What if Peter Pan grew up to be like everyone else? Now, you'd think that Peter Pan as an adult would be a grown, fun-loving man-child. But no, it's surprisingly backwards. Peter Pan, or Peter Panning as he's now called, forgot all about Neverland the day he decided to grow up, and turned into kind of a jerk. He's a father who's constantly yelling at his kids and never seems to have time for them. He's just an average, boring, overbearing adult. There's nothing really special about him. And for Spielberg, that was actually kind of a bold choice to go with. When Peter's children are kidnapped by Captain Hook and taken to Neverland, Peter is taken there himself by Tinkerbell, only for her to discover that he's not the Pan she remembers. Even Captain Hook, in one of the funniest moments of the film, if not the funniest, decides to cancel an entire war because he can't fight his old adversary. And to make it funnier, he's practically crying about it. It reminds me of that scene in Batman the Animated Series when Joker thought Batman was dead.
Without Batman, crime has no punchline.
God, I love that cartoon. Anyway, the rest of the movie is pretty solid, yet pretty predictable. Tinkerbell helps Pan discover his past, and becomes the old Peter Pan again, and manages to reconnect with the Lost Boys. Speaking of the Lost Boys, Rufio is a badass. Or was a badass. Yeah, I'm sorry, the first time I saw this, I was in shock when Hook killed this character. Hook, no! No! You can't kill the new Fire Lord! We don't even know who his mother is yet!
Do you know what I wish? I wish I had a dad.
The film has an enchanting, whimsical feel to it that is often cheesy, but the acting, the drama, the sets, and the really hilarious moments in the film, especially with Hook and Pan, are what help it stand out, and watching Panning go from being an asshole to a kid again is what makes the movie so unique. I can't exactly say it's timeless, but for my money, it's certainly worth some repeat viewings.
Oh my God, where are we going?
To Never Never Land.
Where?
I hate Peter Pan.
Number 11. The NightListener. Like a few others you'll see on this list, The NightListener is one of Williams' more underrated and criminally overlooked films. Based on a true story, it centers around a radio show host, played by Williams, who comes across a story from a 14-year-old boy that he wants to read on the air. The only problem is, he can't seem to prove if the boy is real, or if the boy's adopted mother, played by Toni Collette, is just making up the boy in the story as a means of getting attention. This film is littered with Hitchcockian suspense, and I think the best thing about it is that it never gives you a clear answer at the end. You're meant to decide for yourself if the boy was real or just a figment of a troubled woman's imagination. But it's watching Williams investigate this and come to his own conclusions that makes it as good as it is. With an interesting premise, an intriguing performance by Williams, and a rather chilling performance by Toni Collette, The NightListener comes highly recommended.
Maybe there is no child. Can't let you do this.
Hello.
Your story doesn't have an ending, Gabriel.
This one is called The NightListener.
Number 10. What Dreams May Come. Yes, this is another overlooked Robin Williams movie that just didn't get enough attention. It centers around a couple, played by Robin Williams and Annabella Sciorra, whose children die in a car crash. They manage to work through their problems, but in a bad run of luck, Williams dies just 1 year later in another crash. This puts his wife into a serious depression, which makes her commit suicide. Now Williams, who is now in heaven along with his guide, played by Cuba Gooding Jr., must make a journey through the depths of hell in order to retrieve his wife and bring her into paradise where she belongs. In light of recent events, I was very hesitant to put this movie on the list, but after watching it again, it's a movie I could not bring myself to leave off. Not only are the views of the afterlife, heaven, and hell breathtakingly creative in this film, but the performances of Williams and Sciorra are unforgettable. You really feel their inner torment in this movie, and you believe without a doubt that there is nothing this man would not go through for his wife. Something Williams was always good at in his acting career was playing in imaginary places like it was another day at the store for him. He reveled in playing in otherworldly environments, and this movie is no exception. The visuals, as well as the musical score by Michael Kamen, are so beautiful that it's impossible not to appreciate them. It's a movie that took risks and made us view death in different ways, some pleasant, some not. It's a movie I've always enjoyed watching, and will continue to enjoy watching years down the line.
Robin Williams.
It's not about understanding.
It's about not giving up. Cuba Gooding Jr.
You'll find her. You can do it. I believe in you.
Annabella Sciorra.
I'm still here, babe. I still exist.
What dreams may come.
Number 9. Death to Smooky. One of Williams' more raunchier films from director Danny DeVito, Death to Smooky is a dark comedy centered around the world of children's programming. When Rainbow Randolph, played by Robin Williams, is fired for taking a bribe, he loses everything, and his time slot on TV is taken over by a pink rhino named Smooky, played by a very prissy Edward Norton. This leads into a hilarious setup where Randolph is constantly trying to get Smooky fired. I don't think 5 minutes went by in this film where Williams and Norton didn't have me laughing hysterically. The two of them actually play so well off each other, I'm surprised they never did anything else together. At least nothing that I can think of. The film also manages to fit the Irish mafia and underground crime bosses who apparently fund the children's entertainment industry into its runtime, which only makes it more hilarious. How can you not love that? Can you imagine Barney the dinosaur being controlled by the mob? That's fucking ingenious. But by God, the funniest scene in this movie was the cookie scene.
What are you, blind? It's a cock! It's not a rocket, you sick fuck! It's a cock!
Randolph!
Look!
Get this guy out!
The cock and balls!
Get him out of
The
here right
dick!
now.
Chorizo and the huevos! It's a big stiffy! Yeah! It's a penis! Penis Maximus, a willy, a weenie! Mr. Jiggle Daddy!
Get him out of here!
The one-eyed Wonder Weasel! Don't you see that? Jimmy and the twins! Rumple Foreskin! He made it! He made this thing! It's made from dildo!
Oh my God. How did the parents of those children allow them to be in this movie? Yeah, that'll do it.
I'm apart now and forever! What's up?
Robin Williams, Edward Norton, Danny DeVito, Catherine Keener.
What does it all mean?
Death to Smoochie.
Number 8. Good Morning Vietnam. While director Barry Levinson and Robin Williams would eventually go on to make a very forgettable comedy in Man of the Year, this early gem is just unforgettable. Based on a true story, Williams plays a radio host who was drafted to Saigon during the Vietnam War, and given the job of doing the radio for the troops. While there, he befriends some of the locals and even manages to teach some of them English. However, his superiors don't like the way he's running the radio station, as they don't agree with his brand of humor, nor are they fond of him growing attachments to the locals. It gets so severe between him and his superiors that, at one point, they even try setting him up for death. No, seriously, they try to have him killed, because, well, he tried to tell the truth and they didn't like that. The film has its funny points, but also its dark moments. One of the darkest being a montage of heavy destruction, while What a Wonderful World plays in the background.
I see skies of blue and clouds of white, the bright blessed day, the dark sacred night, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
With its strong conflict, great Robin Williams humor, and some very memorable direction by Barry Levinson, Good Morning Vietnam certainly earns its spot on this list.
Touchstone Pictures presents Robin Williams as Airman Adrian Cronauer, the wrong person.
Very attractive man, never saw, don't think I haven't noticed.
In the wrong place.
This will not look good on a resume!
At the right time.
Good morning, Vietnam!
What a country. Heat, humidity, terrorism. Still, it's better than New York in the summertime.
Number 7. Bicentennial Man. Yes, I know this movie was a flop. Yes, I know a lot of people don't like it. And yes, I really do like it more than the other films I've mentioned, but for different reasons than you may think. Isaac Asimov was one of the best science fiction authors who ever lived, so when a faithful adaptation of his work is made, it's something I highly appreciate. We had this, which was incredibly faithful, heartfelt, and beautiful, and we had I, Robot, which was a pile of shit. Yet sadly made more money.
Just a sick world living in, sick people!
Bicentennial Man sees Robin Williams playing a positronic robot who lives as a servant for a rich family, but after a while quickly becomes a member of the family. As he begins to learn more about humanity, he seems to become more human, and when he undergoes a treatment to make him look human, he wants to find acceptance as a member of the human race, not a machine. But because he has a positronic brain and is technically still immortal, he can't be given that right legally.
So, Mr. Martin, you would like us to pass a bill declaring you a human being?
Yes. Specifically, the ability to marry a fellow human being.
I see. We have to face the undeniable fact that no matter how much you may be like a human being, You are not part of the human gene pool. You are outside of it entirely. You are something else. Something artificial.
Sir, what about all the real people waiting in the gene pool who have bodies full of prosthetic devices, many of which I have invented? You yourself, sir, have one of my kidneys, do you not? Are you not in some way artificial, at least in part?
From the reviews I've read for this film, most people found it to be too sentimental. Even Roger Ebert called it a cornball drone of greeting card sentiment. Ouch. But I personally never found it to be that way. Don't get me wrong, it is very sentimental, but what makes it good is not just the emotions of the characters, but the ideas about humanity and how we as a race perceive it. It's no shock that The Positronic Man by Isaac Asimov is what inspired the character of Data from Star Trek The Next Generation. And just as I loved watching that character become increasingly more human over the years, even making the human sacrifice to die for his crew and the rest of humanity in the bitter end, I enjoy watching this character just the same. Williams delivers a wonderful performance as always, and watching him become more human while simultaneously questioning and understanding the meaning of humanity was an absolute joy for me. It was unique, creative, dramatic, and tear-jerking, while a great Robin Williams movie, Bicentennial Man is an even better science fiction movie.
From the director of Mrs. Doubtfire comes an epic story.
I saw the inner me.
That will bridge the gap between man and machine.
It worked! What the hell's going on?
I am the proud owner of a central nervous system.
You can feel.
Will you perform an experiment just for the sake of science?
All right.
Kiss me. It's everything they say it is.
Bicentennial Man.
Number 6. 1 Hour Photo. I have seen Robin Williams be dramatic. I've seen him make me laugh. But never before this movie had Robin Williams ever scared the living shit out of me. Williams plays a lonely photographer named Cy, who develops pictures at a local store, and ends up becoming obsessed with a particular family, collaging their photos on his wall, as he believes they are happy and wants to embrace himself in the happiness they feel. It's creepy enough, but when Cy discovers that the husband of this family is having an affair, he goes stark raving mad. The movie maintains a creepy tone throughout its runtime and never lets up, but surprisingly, when all is said and done, you feel for this character, despite how creepy he truly is. I won't spoil the ending scene for those who haven't seen the movie, but let me tell you, it's hard not to get teary-eyed while watching it. It was a film that creeped me out as much as it made me feel for the person who was creeping me out. 1 Hour Photo is certainly one of Williams' best movies, with one of his most out-there performances.
You have to look like you're having fun. Smile.
Pretend. This is all pretend. Come on! Now!
Academy Award winner Robin Williams. 1 Hour Photo.
Number 5. Insomnia. Remember how I said in 1 Hour Photo that Robin Williams was playing an ungodly, creepy character? Now imagine him playing a murderer with absolutely no empathy whatsoever. You may shit your pants at your leisure. Insomnia revolves around a cop played by Al Pacino investigating a murder in Night Mute, Alaska. He suffers insomnia due to the months of daylight that the area endures every year, and to make matters worse, this leads to his partner being shot by him in the line of duty. The killer, played by Williams, however, saw him kill his partner, and now the game between them is on as they both have something to condemn the other. At one point in this film, Williams confesses to Pacino that he did kill the girl, beating her to death in a fit of rage when she rejected him. But he doesn't talk about it like he's seriously hurt. He talks about it like he just got done buying groceries. It's actually rather unsettling. Watching Pacino and Williams work off each other is what makes this movie so damn memorable. Seeing the incredible remorse and guilt that Pacino's character feels, offsetting the completely unsympathetic characterization of Williams, is the heart of the film. Also, as someone who admires set designs in movies, I love the way Christopher Nolan shot Alaska in this movie. Seeing such a beautiful looking white landscape in a movie about murder and a game of cat and mouse between a killer and a cop was just awesome. Insomnia, one of the best Christopher Nolan flicks with two of the best actors ever.
This whole thing you're doing ain't gonna work with me.
Hold it! There is she, Finch!
Don't worry, Will. You can sleep when you're dead.
Number 4. Good Will Hunting. The movie that, at long last, finally got Robin Williams the Oscar gold he deserved. This movie, written by Ben Affleck and Matt Damon and directed by the man who butchered Psycho...
So, action, Gus, or... Jesus, Ben, I said I'm busy.
Stars Damon as Will Hunting, a young genius working as a janitor at Harvard. When he's thrown in jail for violating his parole, he's given an ultimatum: help a school professor with math equations and see a therapist, or stay and rot in jail. He obviously makes the first choice and sees therapist Sean McGuire, played by Robin Williams, who pretty much calls Will out on all of his bullshit. Will acts like he knows everything, because he technically does, but he's just a kid. He has little experience with anything, and McGuire makes him realize that, contrary to his own belief, he's not perfect, and he's not better than everyone else. He's just a cocky, arrogant, know-it-all prick.
I ask you about war, you'd probably throw Shakespeare at me, right? Once more into the breach, dear friends. But you've never been near one. You've never held your best friend's head in your lap. Watch him gasp his last breath, looking to you for help. I ask you about love, probably quote me a sonnet. But you've never looked at a woman and been totally vulnerable. Known someone that could level you with her eyes. Feeling like God put an angel on earth just for you. Who could rescue you from the depths of hell. And you wouldn't know what it's like to be her angel.
This is where the movie really shined, the sessions with McGuire and Hunting. I don't think Damon has ever given a better performance, and Williams showed us again why he was one of the best in the business. But perhaps the best scene between these two was towards the end, when McGuire is telling Will over and over that the problems he's facing are not his fault.
It's not your fault. Don't fuck with me, all right? Don't fuck with me, Sean, not you. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. Oh my God. Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
Side performances from Stellan Skarsgård, Ben Affleck, and Minnie Driver were great in moving the story along. But this was the relationship that made the movie. This is what everyone remembers the most about it. Well written and acted with great characters and wonderful advice to live by, Good Will Hunting is an absolute gem.
You ever think about getting remarried? My wife's dead. Hence the word remarried. My wife's dead. Well, I think that's a super philosophy, Sean. I mean, that way you could actually go through the rest of your life without ever really knowing anybody.
Robin Williams, Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, Stellan Skarsgård, and Minnie Driver. Good Will Hunting, a film by Gus Van Sant.
Number 3. Aladdin. Yeah, you all knew this was coming. And why wouldn't it? Williams, as Genie, was the best thing about this movie, and that's saying a lot, because the movie, in my opinion, represents one of Disney's best. In the world of comedy, I don't think I've ever seen a better voice performance in an animated movie, and some of that could be contributed to the fact that Robin Williams was given freedom to improv most of his dialogue. Another part can be contributed to the amazing songs Friend Like Me and Prince Ali, which were written by Howard Ashman before his untimely death. and allowed Williams to deliver 2 great singing performances in the same movie.
Prince Ali, handsome as he, that's physique, how can I speak? Weak at the knee. Well, get on out in that square. Adjust your veil and prepare to gawk and grovel and stare at Prince Ali. You got a list that's 3 miles long, no doubt. Well, all you gotta do is rub like so. Oh, Mr. Aladdin, sir, have a wish of 2 or 3. I'm on the job. You big nabob. You ain't never had a friend, never had a friend. You ain't never had a friend, never had a friend. You ain't never had a friend like me. You ain't never had a friend like me.
Aladdin revolves around a street rat who falls in love with a princess, finds a lamp after being trapped in a cave, and manages to unleash a genie who will grant him 3 wishes. Williams' comedic timing and dramatic timing in his conversations with Aladdin are wonderful. Williams is the genie. Aladdin was a great movie, but in my opinion, just like The Dark Knight wouldn't be that memorable without Heath Ledger's performance, Aladdin wouldn't be that memorable without Robin Williams.
Come over here, big group hug. Group hug. Never had a friend.
Coming this holiday season, Walt Disney Pictures' Aladdin.
You ain't never had a friend like me.
Number 2. Mrs. Doubtfire.
What can I say, Ron? The guy's a loser. I'll see it. Loser.
Oh, sir. I saw it. Some angry member of the kitchen staff. Did you not tip them? Oh, the terrorists, they ran that way. It was a run by Fruity. I'll get them, sir. Don't worry. Oh, good waste of juice.
Loser.
Believe it or not, I originally had this at number 1, and the reason for that was because this was the very first film I ever saw Robin Williams in. This was the first time I saw this man act. This was the film that made me a Robin Williams fan, and I will always cherish it for that. It's a movie that is not only, in my opinion, Williams' funniest film, but also a lot more heartfelt and serious than people give it credit for. Yeah, Robin Williams dressing up as a woman. How is that supposed to be taken seriously? Well, I think people are putting too much emphasis on him being dressed as a woman without trying to understand why he's dressed as a woman. This isn't some retard cop movie where he's an agent undercover. He's a father who wants to see his children, and the only way that he can see them every day is to get the nanny position that his ex-wife put out a personal ad for. The whole movie tackles the issues of divorce and the strain it has on the kids. And being from a broken home myself, I can easily relate to what those kids were going through. I was raised by my dad and my grandmother, but I always wanted to see my mom just as much as I saw them. With the exception of 2 Christmases, which is pretty boss, I'm not gonna lie, being from a broken home sucks. And this movie perfectly demonstrates why it does. It shows the kids constantly missing their father and not being able to see him. On top of this, the comedy gold from Williams is off the charts, filled with hilarious gags and some really memorable moments. I can't even hear the song Dude Looks Like a Lady by Aerosmith anymore without picturing Robin Williams dancing with a vacuum cleaner. When a movie can be that memorable to me, it's doing something right. Another funny thing, and keep in mind, I was only 6, the first time I saw this movie, I could have sworn to you Mrs. Doubtfire was my grandmother. Look at these two! Tell me they don't look alike! I dare ya! Mrs. Doubtfire is my favorite Robin Williams comedy. But there is one movie that I feel deserves the number 1 spot just a little bit more.
Surprise! Robin Williams. Sally Field.
Who needs a husband when I've got you?
In a Chris Columbus film.
Back off!
Mrs. Doubtfire.
Got a tub here.
A father's work.
Ah!
is never done.
Oh! First he is a woman. I'm getting hot flashes.
And my number one favorite Robin Williams movie is Dead Poets Society. Yeah, I'm sorry for being so predictable. But Dead Poets Society is, in my opinion, Williams' greatest film, featuring his best performance. In the film, Williams plays Mr. Keating, a poetry professor at a prestigious school who convinces his students to look past the boundaries of the perfect lives that everyone dreams for them and to do what they want to do. They shouldn't have to be held back or restrained to do what their parents or their other teachers want for them. His methods are so extreme, he even has them ripping out pages of their textbooks. The reason this is at number one is because this is a performance that I feel mirrors Williams himself in a way. Williams was always pushing the boundaries of comedy and acting, taking on roles that would allow him to expand his comedy as well as his career further. He was never typecasted in anything and was very diverse as an actor. He could do it all. And that's what's so amazing about the lessons he teaches in this movie. He teaches them to do it all, to be diverse, to look past conformity and challenge the status quo.
Now, when you read, don't just consider what the author thinks. Consider what you think. Boys, you must strive to find your own voice. But the longer you wait to begin, the less likely you are to find it at all. Thoreau said most men lead lives of quiet desperation. Don't be resigned to that.
Yeah, it wasn't a message that hadn't been done before or wouldn't be done since, but when you look at Williams himself as an actor, a comedian, and just a person, this role and this movie become all the more meaningful, especially in remembering him. This was an actor with such a cool sense of humor that he named his daughter after Princess Zelda. Now that's a dad.
I became a hero.
Dad.
I saved your kingdom.
Dad.
Yes, Zelda?
Are you mixing me up with the princess again?
Hard to say. You're both pretty magical.
I'll remember Robin Williams for giving me advice to live by in his movies. I'll remember all the times he made me laugh, cry, and sometimes even cower in the corner like a scaredy cat. I'll remember the way he smiled, and the way he made all of us smile. But most of all, I'll remember him for being different. Robin Williams was truly one of a kind, and his character in this movie is teaching students to be the exact same thing. It's a movie that reminds me each time I watch it why we need more actors like Robin Williams in this world. His performance, the way he plays off actors like Ethan Hawke and Robert Sean Leonard, is just unforgettable. It's just the perfect movie with the perfect actor.
I said leave, Mr. Keating.
Captain, my captain.
Sit down, Mr. Anderson. You hear me? Sit down. Sit down! This is your final warning, Anderson. How dare you? You hear me?
Oh, Captain, my captain.
Mr. Overstreet, I warn you. Sit down. Sit down! Sit down! All of you! I want you seated! Sit down! Leave, Mr. Keating! All of you! Down! I want you seated! Do you hear me? Sit down!
Well, folks, that was my list, and I really hope you all enjoyed watching it. Now, if you've been watching my reviews for a while, you all know that I do love the movie Patch Adams. I know a lot of people don't. I do, personally. And I didn't put it on this list because, well, I've talked about it before. There's no reason for me to really bring it up again. However, I would like to, in closing, read a couple passages from that movie. What's wrong with death? What are we so mortally afraid of? Why can't we treat death with a certain amount of humanity and dignity and decency, and God forbid, maybe even humor? Death is not the enemy, gentlemen. If we're going to fight a disease, let's fight one of the most terrible diseases of all, indifference. Transference is inevitable. Every human being has an impact on another. You treat a person, and I guarantee you, you will win, no matter what the outcome. Williams, I will not remember how you died. I don't care how you died. I will remember everything else about you. You will live on through your films, through your words, through your comedy, and through every piece of advice you offered in your films. You had a huge impact on not just me, but millions upon millions of other people that are now mourning your passing. I didn't know you personally, but through your wisdom on the screen and your good deeds in real life, you inspired me and so many other people to be better people. You treated us, Mr. Williams, and you won. It absolutely breaks my heart that you're gone. So, as you once said to your good friend Christopher Reeve, may flights of angels sing thee to thy rest, sweet prince.
Also on the faces of people going by, I see friends shaking hands, saying how do you do?
Oh, Captain, my Captain.
A whack of bullet goes in a gopher hole. Oh, you mean like croquet? Fuck croquet! I put the whole hundreds of yards away! The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky. Good morning, Vietnam!
The terrorists, they ran that way. It was a run by fruiting.
Why do I stand up here? Anybody?
Feel taller.
No. Thank you for playing, Mr. Dalton. I stand upon my desk to remind myself that we must constantly look at things in a different way.
Why do you want this? To be acknowledged for who and what I am. No more, no less. Not for acclaim, not for approval. The simple truth of that recognition. This has been the elemental drive of my existence, and it must be achieved if I am to live or die with dignity.